pushing off the couch without pain. She couldn't hold a cup without it being super painful. And this is very disturbing to me because although I had known for a long time that she was arthritic, I didn't know how painful it really was until she came to live with me and I experienced with her what it was like to live life. And this is very disturbing. And so she says, well, you know, the doctor says I'm going to be on this medication for the rest of my life. And I said, that can't be right. There's got to be something that we can do. So we went and we searched and we found a book called
Babe, Wonder of the World gives us a fresh glimpse into the wonders of
Sorry. There is a cure for arthritis. Okay. So she followed the plan. She followed a modified version of that plan, and she detoxed for a year. And probably in about 10 months, she had no more pain left on her hands. 10 months. And all she did was change her nutrition. And I want you to think about, as we go along the seminar, what is your healing story going to be? When you embark on a journey to health, what do you want your healing story to be? What are you suffering from now? What is it that's brought you here? What has put you on your threshold that you are ready to say, no more, I'm not taking it. And I want to encourage you to think about that as we go through the seminar. So why is it important to detox? And how do we know we're toxic? These are important questions. Well, it's important to detox because we are bombarded with toxins every day in every way that you can possibly imagine. And there are several ways. The environment is toxic. Our inward environment, mentally, spiritually, and physically, can get toxic through food, the air, our thoughts, the media that we're bombarded with. Everything that we ingest in some ways has a level of toxicity. Even our own bodies create its own toxicity. So it's important to release the toxins, and we're going to show you how to do that today. I want to explain just a few things about the seminar. First of all, it's very important that you know that the restroom is right behind you through that doorway and to the right. We will have hands-on stations where we would love for you to come and learn more about superfoods and ways to detox the body. We also have food for sale that is 100% raw vegan, and we've got somebody else coming with some raw vegan ice cream and veggie spread, which is so yummy. Yes, it's really. If you are interested in surrounding yourself with people that are going to support you and understand what you are going to learn here today, we encourage you to set up a time to have a home seminar. We are more than happy to come and chat with your family and explain to them what it is that you learn today. We've noticed in our personal experience that a detox goes so much better when you have support at home. So one other thing that I want to explain, Sue has kindly volunteered to go through a detox today. And this is called an ion foot detox. What's happening is the salt water and the ions coming from the element are basically pulling toxins out of her body. So if you saw the water when she started, it was completely clean. And right now, it's just a little bit yellowish. And so in about a half an hour, we'll check and see how the water goes. But this is one way to detox, okay? Okay, so we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to let Dr. Masoud talk about the source of life.
All right. First of all, welcome everybody. Thank you. I know Saturday is a hard day to come to listen to a seminar, but I'm hoping today I change your life. Come on. And changing your life is not necessarily knowledge, because guess what? me and my wife, we had the knowledge that I'm about to share with you 5 years ago. And guess what? 5 years ago, the knowledge didn't change our life. It took us going literally hit rock bottom until we decided to change. So one thing I want to emphasize on you guys, if you think you're going to learn something and then go out there and change your life, ain't going to happen. Because, you know, how many smokers you know that they know smoking is bad for them, yet they smoke. So, but what does change your life is making a decision and focusing on what you want to change. Most of us we want to run from something. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. Guess what will happen when you don't want to think of something? You're going to think of that and you're going to do exactly what you don't want to do. So instead, I want to encourage you to have a goal, something that it pulls you toward instead of running away. So imagine all of you, what is the optimum health you would like to achieve? And don't be like skeptical that that's not possible with me, you know. Let your imagination go wild, because it is possible. Your body is designed to be as healthy and live and be longevity. The only our behavior corrupts it. Before we go further, we just want to know that the stuff I'm going to talk today is a little bit out there. It's not like the stuff you usually hear. It's kind of like out of the norm. I would like you to have open-minded, you know, a little bit like a kid, and come out of your box. The stuff I'm going to ask you to do, you know, out there you can be like the culture that demands you to be quiet, don't do stuff, and be under the radar. But today I'm going to ask you to be like a kid. You know, like a kids when they walk and for no reason they go, oh, or they go like, they sit and watching something and all of a sudden they make those strange noises. They're happy with no reason. They're just happy. So I'm going to do a couple of those stuff during the seminar just to see what is possible out there, okay? All right, let's dive into it. What is health? Why we need to be healthy? You got to understand, everything in our body has two reasons to be healthy. Stay away from toxicity and have all the nutrients that we need. In other words, for purpose of this seminar, don't be diabetic, don't be arthritic, don't be cancer patient, don't be like infection patient. There's only two conditions you need to worry about: deficiency and toxicity. Okay? And let's see what is the source of all that. I need a volunteer to read for me. And go page 3 of your handout. Who's going to be volunteer? Go for it. Would you read Leviticus 17:11? This is from Bible, Old Testament. I'm sorry, do you have this one?
Page 3.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I missed one.
Page 3?
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, go ahead. Would you read it?
Okay, it says the source of life, blood. Blood is a specialized bodily fluid that delivers necessary substances to the body's cells, such as nutrients and oxygen, and transports waste products away from those same cells. Clean blood equals healthy body. Toxic blood equals sick body. Leviticus 17:11. For the life of a creature is in the blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement for yourselves on the altar. It is the blood that makes atonement for one's life.
So how is it that 5,000 years ago we knew that the blood is source of life? That there's the blood but yet we keep corrupting our blood. Now, upon that token, I want to start the seminar by showing us a very short video presentation. Would you hit the light, please?
Let's stay here. Can everybody stay?
God's creation.
Yes.
Here is living sculpture that changes with every passing hour. Here is an architect's dream of perfection. Here is the ultimate in complete automation. Construction, repair, breathing, heartbeat, everything fully automatic. Life is a precious and a wonderful thing. And yet with all its importance, it's amazing how little the average person knows about himself. Today, almost any 10-year-old knows more about the family car and what makes it run than the average adult knows about himself. And by the way, whatever you may happen to know about the family car will help you to understand your own body, for there are many amazing similarities. Take a deep breath. Now exhale. That was the intake and the exhaust of a 30 trillion cylinder motor. You see, there are some 30 trillion cells in the human body. And each cell is like a tiny motor. It burns fuel. It requires oxygen to burn the fuel. It gets hot and must be cooled. It gives off an exhaust gas, and it performs work. Think of it. A motor with 30 trillion cylinders. And remember, each of these tiny motors must be continuously supplied day and night throughout your entire lifetime. Even an 8-cylinder motor gets pretty complicated. We put the fuel in the gas tank, the oil in the crankcase, the water in the radiator, the oxygen enters through the air intake, and the exhaust comes out the exhaust pipe. The electrical current for the spark travels through the ignition system. There is a separate supply system for each of these separate functions. I suppose that the Creator could have provided a separate supply line to each cell in the body for each of these functions, but He didn't. Instead, He did something far more wonderful, something an automotive engineer would say is absolutely impossible. He combined them all in a single common system, the bloodstream. And the story of that red liquid, which is sent plunging through the arteries and veins of your body with every beat of your heart, is the most amazing, the most fabulous, the most fantastic story in the physical universe. If it were possible for you to shrink to the size of a tiny microbe and then enter the bloodstream for a trip through the circulatory system, you would find yourself caught up in a torrent of traffic that would, by comparison, make the busiest freeway look like a lonely desert road. You would see the red cells performing their unbelievable chemical magic. Loads of sugar, fat, chemicals, and minerals would be speeding from processing plants to delivery points throughout the body. Loads of refuse and waste material would be en route to salvage yards or disposal plants. You would see skilled mechanics hurrying to replace worn-out or damaged parts in the cell motors of the body. You would see an amazing traffic control system with stop-and-go signals at every byway intersection, all controlled by an electronic brain so that every pickup and delivery is made at the right place and at just the right time. If, however, in shrinking to the size of a microbe, you turned out to be a harmful bacteria, or even a suspicious character, you'd never get into the bloodstream. A ghostly giant would come out through the capillary wall without even making a hole and gobble you up. These lively ghosts are the white cells, or leukocytes. They form an army of 35 billion police, prepared to keep the peace or repel an invasion. You remember we said that each cell of the body is like a tiny motor, and the food you eat provides the fuel to keep it running. But it takes more than fuel to make a motor run.
Okay. We hit the light again, thank you. So everybody understand the blood is basically source of life, and how it doesn't work is pretty much everything in our body works on the blood. So let me ask you a question. What happens if we obstruct the blood? You're going to die. Every organ. But so we're thinking about the human, but let's think of an organ. Let's say you be kidney, you be liver, you be everything else, okay? when we obstruct to one organ, maybe that organ goes into distress, but all the organs that they depend on this organ, they're also under distress. Is that right? Okay. So how many ways that we can obstruct the blood? How many ways?
Clogged arteries.
Clogged artery, what else?
Drugs.
Drugs, what else?
The what now?
How we can obstruct the blood?
Poison.
Poison, what else?
Not exercising.
Not exercising, what else?
The food we eat.
Food we eat, what else?
Medication.
Medication, we said it, what else?
Cholesterol.
Lack of oxygen, what?
Dehydration.
Dehydration, what else?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol, what else?
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure, exactly. So most of the time you guys talked about they falling under two, basically one category is chemical. The stuff that we put in our body can obstruct us. Is that right? Coronary heart disease, cholesterol, drugs. There's two other ways we can obstruct the blood. Physical. In other words, when you have a neck spasm or you have a back spasm, don't you think you're going to sting that blood vessel? Or you fall, you have an injury, don't you think you're going to obstruct that blood vessel?
Oh, yeah.
Or your vertebra out and your whole half of your body is so spasmed that it starts becoming like tingling? It's part of it because the blood is missing there. Is that right?
Yeah.
What other way we can obstruct the blood?
Cancer.
But that's still like emotional, no? How many people you see when you are getting emotional, your body gets so spasmed up, emotional. So there's three ways we can obstruct our blood or obstruct anything in our body, health-wise: chemical, physical, and emotional. The purpose of this seminar, we focusing mostly on chemical, but is emotional as important. You know, there are people who doing raw food, organic, and yet get cancer. Because guess what? Having a right emotional balance and detoxing emotionally is as important. Or physical, you know, you could have eating right food, but your neck is so odd and you are so spasmed up. Guess what? Most of us, we understand if my neck is spasmed up, it's just my neck and muscle. No. That same blood and the nerve innervation goes to also to your organs. And whatever organs happen to affect, every other organ that depend on that organ, there are they're deficient over time. So what we're going to do now, we're going to show you on the blood how the blood start to be toxin. And most of our blood is very clogged up because American standard diet or any other diet is very acidic. It makes your blood acid. So what happens, all these red blood cells, they chunk together to balance the acidity of the environment. So a red blood cell that needs to flow freely, they chunk together. And we're going to see in a minute in the video small video presentation how it has happened. Most of us, how many think here that they eat healthy? Nobody? One thing? Okay. Most of us, if I put a ground zero that's been not healthy at all, and my hand, the healthiest possible diet, in other words 10, and the ground zero, 90% of us are 2 miles underground. Because talking to my patient, thinking that they eating healthy, and even people, I eat chicken, you know, I eat like fish. We're gonna go over it that everything that you put in your diet right now is killing you. And we need to think outside the box, and this starts with your blood. We need to clean your blood, and I'm going to show you a small video presentation. Can you hit the light?
Doctor, is there any way we can focus the picture?
I think this is the best we have.
Together.
Okay.
They're not healthy. The blood is so
Okay, this is the, I'm not going to show you the whole video because of the face of time. These are the red blood cells. You see how they are like bunch of coin put in together. There are pieces of cholesterol, that chunk in the middle is supposed to be the white cell that fights bacteria. It doesn't look healthy at all. Now, we're going to talk about concept of superfood in the middle of the seminar. This patient went to this naturopath, and of course they detoxed him, and they put him on a superfood. Superfood increases the oxygen of the blood, and it makes the blood alkaline. After just 2 days,
form in the blood. And these are the pieces that, the amount is not as large as when you have a large, a little bit better. Even though the acidity has
Okay, this is after the patient is being treated with a little bit superfood. Look at all the blood, white blood that they were chunked up together. Now they can easily, and they are still white because they are still anemic. And look at the white blood cell. It doesn't even look healthy. One of the way we obstruct the blood by make the blood acid, by the junk we put in our body. And when the blood gets acid, they get chunked together, and guess what they do? Obstruction. Remember we talked about obstruction in the body? The first obstruction we do in our body to make our blood acid. And of course this person was more treated with superfood, and this is the healthier, and then we go on.
You notice they've got their color back, they're not as anemic.
They're not anemic anymore. You know, you can see they have enough iron, enough oxygen. Look at the white blood cell. Now you can actually see it. It fights bacteria, and the immunity is a lot better. Look at how healthy they become. Okay? Anybody that doesn't understand that acidity of the blood, it will chunk up all the red blood cells. So you can see it, and this is what we wanted to show you.
So if you look at your page 3, where it says clean blood, healthy body, toxic blood, sick body, please write down clean and nourished blood. So add the words and nourished. So your blood should be clean and nourished. But if your blood is toxic and malnourished, then we've got sick body.
Okay.
Malnourished?
Okay, sorry, can you hit the light? Okay, this is a person, we just have a diagram of the small blood. It talks about hypertension. Now, I want to emphasize on you that when you have a hypertension, everybody understands that hypertension is about the heart. It's not only about heart, it's about everything. You know, when obstruct the blood to the heart, we call it hypertension, coronary heart disease, myocardial infarction. But guess what? Let me show you. I'm going to magnify this. I need a volunteer to read again. Okay, would you guys read this? Can anybody read it?
No.
No?
In hypertension, severely elevated blood pressure damages the tunica intima of small vessels, resulting in fibrin accumulation in the vessels, local edema, and possibly intravascular clotting. Symptoms vary depending on the location of the damaged vessels. The brain, cerebrovascular accident or stroke, the eye, vascular retinopathy, excuse me, the heart, myocardial infarction, the kidney, proteinuria, edema, and renal failure.
Okay, proteinuria is when the kidney leaks protein into the bloodstream. You gotta understand, the reason I brought you this, even the traditional medicine recognizes that when you have blood or hypertension problem, is not just the heart, your eyes, your kidney, your brain. But guess what? Everywhere in the body, I gotta tell you, all the diseases in the body are two, either deficiency or toxicity, that they cause obstruction, okay? So, usually the blood vessel, the first one to go is the wall of the blood, right here. The first one, the wall of the blood vessel start to be damaged. Most believe out there, even among medical community, that the blood vessel slowly gets obstructed. This is not it does happen. Research after research, it shows that this piece of artery, it will collapse, and this is how the patient dies. What will happen is, even the cardiovascular surgeons say, oh, it's mostly open, but sometimes they see even the person who's just only 15% obstruction dies next day. What happened? Because the blood vessel, they collapse on itself. 87% of heart attack are like this. And the people who do not have a heart attack, the other places in their body, this happen to it. To pancreas, to kidney, to liver, to everywhere else, this happens. It doesn't matter, the person doesn't die. That organ, whatever function it needs to be doing, it's not doing anymore. Everybody understand that?
Okay, so
You can hit the light.
how do we know if we're suffering from toxic blood? I mean, we're all sitting here, we go to work, we live life regularly. How do we know? Well, here are some symptoms. What are the 5 major killers in the world? What? Heart disease, obviously. Cancer, diabetes, infection, and arthritis. Okay? So if you are suffering, okay, let's take a pause right here. Sue
I'm
is
not toxic.
So I don't know if you're going to be able to, if you can stand up and take a look.
Look at my
Her,
toxins.
her water is now very, very, very dark. And actually, this is not the worst we've seen. Okay?
Yeah,
So
this is a good one, actually.
Thanks to my colonoscopy, I guess.
yeah, this is not that. Yes, you're absolutely right. That might be it. But yeah, this isn't the worst. The worst we have seen is completely black. I mean, like the color of Terry's shirt back there. Completely black. Okay. So back to how do we know? How do we know if we're toxic? Obviously, if you suffer from a chronic disease, even like fibromyalgia, you definitely have toxic blood. Okay, so some of the symptoms that are a little bit more subtle are fatigue, apathy. If you have the 3 o'clock slump in the middle of your day where at 3 o'clock you really just want a candy bar or a soda and you just feel like you have no more energy, that means that you have toxic blood. Poor digestion, and I want to define what poor digestion is, okay? Some of us think that it's okay to have a bowel movement every other day, and that's just the way life is. If you're having a bowel movement every other day, you are constipated and you're toxic. So healthy digestion would be 1 bowel movement a day, okay? If you're sluggish, if you're bloated, if you have PMS symptoms, all of these are symptoms of toxic blood. Hi, come on in. Come on in, Phyllis.
Okay, 5 major killer, cancer. How do you think cancer happens? When there's an obstruction to any organs, toxicity build up, we produce cancer cell right away. We all have some type of cancer when we have toxicity in the body. What will happen, our immunity are down, they cannot fight cancer cells, boom, cancer takes over your body. Diabetes. We have, I don't know how many of you saw the movie 30 Raw 40 Days. 6 people, they recovered from diabetes just by changing their diet. The pancreas gets obstructed, doesn't get enough nutrients, doesn't produce insulin or all the other functions it needs to. Arthritis. Arthritis is the biggest lifestyle condition we have these days. Most of us, we don't know arthritis is just a huge allergy we create. We eating all this meat, stays in the stomach for 72 hours or 7 weeks or 6 months. Body produces antibody, goes inside the blood, and start attacking joint. So if it attacks our joint, we have rheumatoid or degenerative arthritis. If it attacks the skin with the allergy, we call it psoriatic. If it attacks the big toe, we call it gout. Arthritis is simply a lifestyle disease and is reversible 100%. Okay? Infection is literally hard because our body is designed to have its immunity, and most of us we go through life say, you know what, I get sick easily. You're not getting sick easily. You have so many stuff in your body that the body needs to fight it. And since it uses all these fighters somewhere else, when some actual infection comes from outside, it gets you down fast because there's so many toxins in your body. Now, I'm going to show you, can you hit the light? We're going to go really big. I want to emphasize this role of the blood. I want you to see the visual in your brain. You see how the blood vessel flowing? They grab oxygen from the blood. This represents a cell in the body, okay? Any cell. In this case, because I'm a chiropractor, I say it's a joint cell, okay? Now, every cell has its own toxicity, and we need to get rid of it. In this form is a carbon dioxide. We breathe, we give away carbon dioxide. Everybody understand that? Also, the cell needs a nutrient. This is a molecule of glucose, and it needs a lot of other things like vitamin and minerals to do its function. But guess what? Every cell produces its own toxicity. Depends what is the function of that cell. And we need to get rid of that cell, that toxicity through the blood. Of course, we go through the lymphatic system. Now, the reason is very important that you understand this lymphatic system. In a minute, it will come up. Lymphatic system is one of the organs in the body that works on the motion. Because if you do not move, you do not detox. It works with your breathing, it works with your movement. Lymphatic system, unlike the heart, is not, unlike the cardiovascular, is not connected to a pump. It is connected to whatever. Right away, we have 4 times more liquid in the lymphatic system than we have in cardiovascular system. For every 5 blood, probably we have 20 liters of lymphatic. This green thing is represent the lymphatic. We have more liquid in the lymphatic system, and the only way they move is by movement. Right away, the same way the joint work. If the joint do not move, this action of giving oxygen, giving out the toxin, ain't gonna happen. The only way the joint will detox and grab their nutrients is by movement. So if you have a stock neck or a stock back, do you think that joint is gonna be getting rid of his toxin and getting his nutrients? No. But you have the light. Let me show you something. Everybody pay attention to here. 70% of Americans go through this. You see regular person, they lose the curve, they lose their disc and go on. The lucky one, they have pain early on. The people who are not lucky, they have pain somewhere around here. And nobody can do jack for them. Okay? So it's super duper important that if you have a locked joint, you unlock it or give a movement to it. 2 reasons. Because guess what? When you lock the joint, what else you do? You obstruct what? Blood. Guess what else you obstruct? The nervous system. Brain controls of the body is through the nervous system. Everything in your body is controlled by your nervous system. Absolutely. There's nothing going on in the body that nervous system doesn't control it. So when you put your obstruction of the kink, 2 things. There's no control. Either they produce too much or they don't produce enough. And guess what? The life of the body that needs to go there, it doesn't go there. Everybody understand that?
Okay. So why then is it important to detox? Obviously to clean the blood. But toxins also impair our ability to heal. So if you've got toxic blood, then your white blood cells are not doing their job. They're not fighting disease. They're not fighting infection. And your immune system is obviously compromised. So if you are not detoxing, not only are you more susceptible to disease, if you don't detoxify, you are actively creating disease in your body because your body is not releasing all the stuff that makes us toxic. So imagine the level of energy that you would have if your body didn't have to spend so much time dealing with the toxicity. I can tell you just from personal experience, I went from having 0 energy to having about 4 times the energy just changing what I ate. It requires a tremendous amount of energy for your body to process all of the pesticides, insecticides, and waxes, and preservatives, and artificial sweeteners, and it is just incredible. Imagine what you could be doing with your energy if your body didn't have to take care of that. Okay? So if you're constantly walking around like you're in a coma, you definitely want to do something different. You know, isn't that the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? So if you want a different result out of your body, you've got to do something different with your body. And one of that, Dr. Masoud said, is the movement. Do you want to talk about the rebounder?
Yeah, I strongly suggest anybody who doesn't have one, please get rebounder. The movement is everything. Not only your lymphatic
A
system.
rebounder is a trampoline.
Trampoline,
Yeah.
a small trampoline. Not only your lymphatic and joint are very, very dependent on movement. Your entire body is designed for movement. Let me make an example. Your liver is sitting there, kidney is sitting there, the spleen is sitting there. They're not bolted there. So what I'm saying, all those veins and arteries and lymph and nerve that they go in there are designed to be elastic and moving around. And guess what? If they don't move, they get in harder, they get in harder, they get in harder. Your entire body, there are function in the single cell that happening due to movement. So if somebody sits on their butt all day, just that by itself is toxicity. So I'm not asking people, I don't work out, but I'm not asking everybody to work out. But one of the greatest things you can learn from this seminar, if you don't learn anything, but you just learn this one. First, of course, you need a chiropractic adjustment for those vertebrae that is out. But one thing, get up on the trampoline and move. 5 minutes a day, that's all you need to do. All the organs start to jump. Your bones, your bone itself, when you jumping up and down, start to be stronger. Okay?
Right. So you understand the lymphatic system, because there's no way to pump energy into that lymphatic system. The rebounder, the trampoline exercise, is will give the lymphatic system its way of circulating. Okay, so turn to page number 4.
Also deep breathing, you know. You can
Oh yes, we're going to do some deep breathing in a little while too. Can I get a volunteer to read the top of page 4? Yes, Jackie, thank you. What is a toxin, please?
Any energy, object, substance, or living organism that damages our cells or body tissue. Anything that interrupts our energy field or energy production or interferes with our organ function.
Okay, so we feel this is a pretty accurate description of what a toxin is. And we've separated it into 4 different categories, right? So energy, objects, substances, and living organisms. So we're going to go through each category, talk about a few of the toxins in each category, and then we're going to give you some tips on how to start eliminating. Now, there are hundreds and thousands of more toxins that are not in your handout and that we're not going to talk about today, but the ones that we are going to talk about today are the easiest, the most obvious to start eliminating out of your life and your body, okay? So we'll start with energy. There's UV light, radiation, wavelength, X-rays, radio waves. So what you want to do is start reducing your computer use. If you spend 8 hours in the computer at work, come home to maybe less computer use. Reduce the use of your cell phone. Use your home phone. Find ways to turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts. A lot of us already do this. Meditation and prayer and going out for a walk so you clear your head.
So I'm going to come back on that in a minute.
This is my favorite one. Take out all the electronics out of your sleeping area. This is so important. It absolutely affects your sleeping when you've got a television, a radio, a computer, all of them in your sleeping area. It is very, very toxic. because these electronics are still emitting waves, even if they're turned off, even if they're covered. I highly, highly recommend that you just move them out of your sleeping areas, okay? For objects, you've got ingestion of foreign objects, plastic or Teflon. Plastic and Teflon are very, very toxic. If you store your food, try storing it in glass or wooden containers. If you microwave your food, which we recommend that you just don't use a microwave at all anyway, but do not heat up your food in plastic containers. Both plastic and Teflon have been known to leach carcinogens into the food, which increase the activity of estrogen levels in the body, which causes breast cancer. So now let's go on to substances. We're going to park here for a little bit because there are so many substances in what we eat and what we use in our daily lives that are so harmful, but they can so very easily be eliminated, okay? So chlorine, bromine, iodized salt, refined sugar, gluten, corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, dairy, sodium lauryl sulfate, which is in your toothpaste, asbestos, fluoride, prescription over-the-counter drugs, recreational drugs, alcohol, carbon dioxide from the smog, parabens, preservatives.
Let me tell you quick. Chlorine is in the water. It's very easily I give you some cheap way to have a clean water. You see that filter out there? What we usually do at home, we boil the water, of course to kill all the bacteria and germ in it, but guess what it does? A lot of this fluorine, chlorine, all the garbage that they put in the water will evaporate fast. And then you filter it, all the bad mineral that is in it is also being filtered out. Cheap way. That way, we are 100% are against the bottled water. That's a stagnant water. Trust me, it actually is worse than any water.
Plus it's being stored in
plastic and harming the environment. There is a place like the state of Texas, somewhere between here and Japan, that is in the ocean. The size of state of Texas, all plastic bottle. So next time you having plastic bottle, think about it, how much you're harming the environment. And guess what? The water is in it is bad anyway. Bromine is in the white bread. White bread is absolutely no-no, guys. White bread, it has something called maltine that they actually inject to rat to give them diabetic so they can do experiment on it. Stay away from cooked bread altogether. It's really horrible. Iodized salt. You know, in iodized salt there is actually sugar, dextrose. They put sugar in the salt. It's really bad. The alternative we're talking about it here is the Celtic sea salt. Is the alternative, of course. Every sea salt is better. Sugar. We're gonna go over sugar again. Gluten. Gluten. There was a study on gluten on schizophrenia. They took gluten out of their diet. They give them vitamin B3. 99% recovery. But guess what happened? Even a little amount of gluten into their diet, a schizophrenic patient, they rebound. Even as little as just like 1 spoon, whatever. So gluten is really harmful. It creates allergy in the body. Guess where you find it? In wheat. Bread is not a good thing. Corn syrup is another issue. Hydrogenated, fluoride. Guys, you know what? The biggest problem and biggest money maker as of right now is depression drug, namely Prozac. Guess what they use in fluoride? And they study after study, they find out most people they take Prozac don't really need it. And one of the obstruction I just told you about is obstruction of emotion. Most of us, we think we cannot change our emotion. Most of us, we think, are like, oh, life is me, I cannot change it, it's me. And, we look down and we are low and we don't go for it. We think life is this. And guess what? It works exactly the opposite. Your emotion, it works exactly the opposite of you think. Start with your physiology and it goes backward. In other words, they just done a study on depression. They saw the people who stand tall, depression goes away. Matter of fact, they took thousands of certified depressed people. In other words, they had to go to psychiatric, get a certification that these people are depressed. They could participate in the study. out of 1,000 people, only 4 people at the end of the study were still depressed. What did they ask him? Stand tall. That's it. That's it. And guess what? Billions and billions of dollars is spent on literally fluoride. You find them in the water. Do you know there was actually, people think it's out there, but there's some idiot congressman actually proposed to put Prozac into the water system. No. You know, there's somebody running in the state of Nevada, they said, oh, they put in garbage in the water. The media makes fun of her, but guess what? It's true. Some idiot actually proposed that. They haven't done it, but now we're going to do, remember I told you we're going to be like a kid, you know, come out of your box. I want to show you something how you can change your state. How many of you are a fan of football, basketball, or something else? How many? Half of them?
Watching it or playing it?
Watching it. Okay, but you know, some of you are here getting happy of a stranger playing something, football or basketball, and guess what they do? A stranger who has nothing to do with you, they score a ball, and guess what you do? Yeah! Is that right? You didn't do nothing. You sat on your butt at home. Why are you happy about? But guess what? Somebody else did something absolutely insignificant. Ball through the hole. Bring the ball to the right. You are happy. What does it tell you? That you are on control of your emotion. Aren't we like? So I want you everybody get up for 10 seconds. Imagine your team is winning the Super Bowl, the basketball. I think for 10 seconds I want you to celebrate. Go for it. Go! Okay, guys, go ahead, have a seat. Okay, go back, be depressed again if you want to. How many of you is depressed? I can't. But this is the point. You see how easily we can change our state just for a stranger playing the ball. Most of us, we have something in life to be happy about. But guess what? Our brain, it can focus on what we are happy about, what we are sad, or what we indifferent. Most of us in the morning, we get up and we choose, let the brain goes where it wants to go. And we follow. But from what you just learned today, you have to understand, your physiology stands straight, and control of your mind can overcome the emotional obstruction. You know, I understand. When you go in the garden, there are weeds. Actually, weeds are very good. We talk about it later. We see the garden full of weeds. You know what? I understand. You know, we should see the garden has a weed and we need to pull them out. But let's not put more weed in our mind. Thinks there is actually more weed than actually is. Understand, we need to see there is a weed and we need to take them out. But most of us, we double them, we triple them. And guess what? We meditate on them. Anybody knows what is worrying? When we worry, we just meditate on negative. We keep meditating in the negative.
Really? After all that, you want to go back to talking about toxins? I don't know. So, you know, in thinking about this stuff, it gives you a different perspective when you go back and look at a plate of food. The number one holder of toxicity is fat, not just animal fat, okay? So we're talking about the stuff that we'll have beef and chicken and pork. So if you want to eliminate one thing that will very quickly without putting toxins in your body, eliminate animal products, well, particularly meat. And we'll go through the whole list of the things that are the top things that are making us toxic are meat, dairy, alcohol, caffeine, refined sugar, refined flour.
Okay, a little bit about meat. Usually these animals that they've been killed, slaughtered, they go in the line, the animal, they see the next animal in front is being killed. And what happened, they release all these hormones, stress hormone into the blood, and ends up in their flesh, ends up in your body. And sometimes you are depressed because guess what, the animal was depressed to kill it.
So the moral of the story is just cut out the animal products, cut out the meat. So, and we already talked about the iodized salt versus the Celtic sea salt. Do you know that iodized salt actually pulls calcium out of your body? The regular salt that we use, table salt, that actually pulls calcium out of your body, okay? This is actually mineralized pure salt. So what happens to the sea salt when it's processed to make it into iodized salt is they take the minerals out, and then they sell the minerals to pharmaceutical companies that then they make vitamins and minerals out of, and then they sell them to you.
So you don't be mineral deficient.
And then the salt is just pulling calcium right out of your body. So, you don't have to take extra minerals, just take some Celtic sea salt. Replace sugar with stevia, xylitol, agave nectar, anything else that is not sugar processed. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Choose personal hygiene products and cleaning products that are toxin-free. We talked about the chlorine. We found this at Whole Foods. It's called Natural All-Purpose Cleaner. It's primarily made out of orange peel, and it still cleans very well. It just doesn't
pretty
have
much
that
everything.
It's very effective. It just doesn't have that chlorine smell, and it's not toxic to your body. Okay, so let's move on to living organisms. Viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungi, and worms. Now, let's go back to this. The major carrier of bacteria and viruses are animal fat. So now do you understand why we're so emphatic about removing meat out of your diet? It isn't because it's making you fat. No, it's because it's slowing down your digestion, it's making you toxic, and it's keeping the toxins inside of your body. That's why.
Okay, one of the reasons that organisms are so toxin in the meat, usually meat is being part of the flesh of an animal. The animal immune system you always fight against the bacteria and viruses that they invade his organism. What will happen? They kill the animal, then they feed them to you. The killed meat, it doesn't have an immune system. The bacteria and viruses that they go in there, they stay in there, namely E. coli, salmonella, all that other stuff. So literally everything, doesn't matter you cook them, you always eat all those viruses and bacteria and fungi in the meat. Because guess what? There is nobody to defend that meat against all those foreign organisms.
Yeah. And the other thing that we suggest is that you use a veggie wash on your vegetables and your fruit. Because it's great if you're eating raw fruits and vegetables, but if they're not cleaned off from the pesticides, the insecticides, the waxes, that can be harmful.
Actually, there are some people who go on raw food and they eat all fruit and vegetable. They end up cancer. They end up getting cancer. Why? Because guess what? They eat all the pesticide on the skins of the fruit. They eat all the GMOs, all the genetically modified. They put them in the fruits. Because guess what? By thinking they detoxify, they toxify their body by all the stuff that is in the fruits and vegetables. Now, even if you buy organic, it's super important that you take the hygiene of those vegetables. is there are so many parasites and bacteria that they come into our body through the vegetable and fruit. So the hygiene is super important. Take your time. This is your body we're talking about. Take some time and wash those fruit.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to watch a video of 6 people who underwent some drastic changes in their nutrition. Actually, they're all diabetics, and you get to see the results. Let me get the lights. Thank you.
We've reached a point in our history now where we're so technologically advanced, and yet when it comes to our food choices, we're so behind times. We're making food choices that make no sense whatsoever. We're eating increasing amounts of junk and thinking we're going to be healthier. The results show absolutely this is not the case.
One of the most potent, widespread pandemics that we're facing is diabetes. There's 246 million people today who suffer from diabetes.
Doctors, probably a lot of them aren't even aware that one of the big maxims from Hippocrates, father of modern medicine, was let food be thy medicine, medicine thy food.
Attempting to alleviate the symptoms of diabetes type 2 using pharmaceutical medications, mineral deficient food is moot. It's not going to work.
So my view is start with a natural approach. Maybe you have to go to chemistry, but why not exhaust that possibility so you don't end up having all these side effects that you find out 5 years, 10 years later, 20 years later, when maybe it's too late.
We wanted to see what would happen if 6 diabetics followed a whole, raw, live foods diet for 30 days. A nationwide search was undertaken to find those eating the typical standard American diet, the SAD diet, and here's what happened. A medical team was assembled to monitor their health on a daily basis. Their blood sugar levels were checked daily. They had no meat, no dairy, no alcohol, no caffeine, no refined foods, no junk foods or fast food of any kind, no candies, no sugar.
If it's so curing in a month of diabetes, oh,
I'm going to ask everyone to cut your insulin intake by 1/3. That's our first focus. So we have to try real hard, and you have to be aware that it's going to move a little fast. Our biggest concern, quite frankly, is people getting insulin shock from getting off insulin so quickly.
We have become so drug-oriented. You know, we live in a world where we become kind of so pharmaceuticalized that the idea of changing anything just through diet is kind of preposterous, I think, to a lot of people. That's almost like old medicine, like a witch doctor.
A lot of people use food to stuff their emotions. And as people begin to heal, they begin to let loose of some of those negative emotions. I mean, what the hell is wrong with me? I don't know.
Detox is very important. A person has to be very strong, very courageous, and have strong intention to move through that process.
And then this morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, it just came to me that if I leave, I'm not going to get the effects that I should. Now my mind is allowing my body to heal. I can beat diabetes, honey.
I don't care for the food at all, you know, but hey, it's working.
I can do this. This is delicious.
I love salads and greens and tomatoes and cucumbers, avocados. I've been the man with a lantern looking for the truth, and my God, found it.
111.
Sugar went down 100.
It's not just diabetes. It's like everything went back to normal.
The results were unbelievable. By the end of the 30-day period, their blood sugar had stabilized, and they had effectively reversed their diabetes.
We can consider your cure to diabetes at this point.
Wow, you've lost 25 pounds.
And I feel good.
My God, you look like a different person. How do we ship all my patients to Arizona.
I learned a lot about my addiction to food, my love affair with food, and how I had to just shift my whole mindset.
There's one thing that's everything that we all know. It's in every single person's consciousness, in every language, in every culture, in every country. And it's you are what you eat.
I want to invite you to leave us your email address because we will be showing this movie again. We've shown it in the past, and the movie showings are for free. So if we don't already have your email address, please, please leave us your email address so that you can stay posted on when we're going to show this movie again. Okay? So now we're going to talk about facts and figures. We're actually going to, Dr. Masoud is going to talk about the direct correlation between some of the toxins we've already talked about and specific illnesses.
Okay, go ahead, hide the light again. You know what? In late 15th century, people thought that Earth is flat. And if you would think that otherwise, they would consider you dangerous and they would burn you at the stake. The society like to think the Earth is flat. But guess what? The fact is, the Earth is wrong. What happened to the people that they thought the Earth is wrong in this society? They were persecuted. They were ridiculed. And guess what? They've been killed in some. They were considered dangerous. This is me. This is when I thought the Earth is flat. I think I'm a chiropractor. I eat healthy. I eat chicken salad. Come on. I walk sometimes, but look at this. It's almost as big as this. And you know what? Most of us, we know the Earth is round, but we behave for Earth is still flat. The first thing that most of us have problem with is sugar. Sugar is not a food. Guys, stop thinking the sugar you feed in your body is a drug. Literally, that's the same thing opium and cocaine and heroin does. It releases opiate-like hormone and increase dopamine. Guess what drug addict they have in their body? They increase dopamine in their body. That's why they're addicted. Every time they switch to whatever they're addicted to, this goes up in their body. Sugar is drug, not food. The alternative of sugar is not aspartame, sweet and low equal xylitol. All of those are drug as well, and they kill you. They are designed to kill you. I have to do one seminar on that. Okay? Now she's gonna go over, hit the light. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, very briefly, some alternatives to sugar. Stevia, which comes from a plant, it's awesome. Xylitol, which comes from birch trees, you can actually cook with this, okay?
But that actually makes your system.
Don't cook with stevia. If you use too much, it'll be bitter. Xylitol, yeah, you might be able to cook with.
I thought you just mentioned xylitol was not good. You said it was a drug.
No, I'm sorry. What is it? The other one? Not xylitol.
No,
the yellow one. No, the yellow one. Splenda.
Yeah, see, you're throwing a whole spin.
I know, I tried to.
What you're doing,
Splenda's not chemically treated, though. Splenda's not chemically treated.
Splenda, it just is a sugar. They take the glucose out of it, and in research it shows they actually attack your nervous system as well.
Here's a quick way to know if it's supposed to be in your body or it's not supposed to be in your body. If it's called an artificial sweetener, it's not meant to be in your body because your body was not meant to process anything artificial. Okay? Agave comes from cactus plant, a blue cactus plant. You can get this raw or non-raw.
We recommend raw is better.
Raw is better, but non-raw is cheaper. So,
Now, one thing about agave nectar is not glucose free. You still get fat on it. But if we have a Q&A, please don't reframe your question. Agave nectar, for a tenth of glucose, has the same sweetness as honey. In other words, be easy on it. But guess what? There's a lot less glucose in it than honey or any other or sugar. So
yeah. The other one that we've just recently found is yacon root.
That's the best.
You can get it in syrup form. I wasn't able to find it in syrup form, but it's actually a root.
How do you spell that?
Y-A-C-O-N.
I'll read you.
So the syrup is really, really great for any purpose. The other one is dates. We really like this.
Great sweetener, all natural. Just have it.
They make sugar out of this too. There's date syrup too. So this is a great alternative.
But flat date, raw date is the best. I lost a lot of pounds just having date and seeds at the beginning of my changing lifestyle. Can you hit the light? Thank you. Can you explain this one?
Okay. Back in the 1970s, there was a research study that took 1.1 million children in the New York public school system, and they wanted to find out what would happen to them if they changed their nutrition. And they went based on their CAT test scores. And so this is what happened. So from 1976 to 77, their scores were at 41%. Then for the next 3 school years, they didn't make any changes in the kids' diets. Okay? Then from 1979 to 80, what they did is they removed all the sugar out of their diets. And look at what happened to their scores. The year after that, they didn't just remove sugary foods, they removed foods that contain sugar in them. And look at what happened to their scores.
Actually, what happened between here and here, they say it could be the accident. So they just removed the sugar, they had exact same result.
They didn't make any changes from
This to this.
From
And
here
then
to
they
here.
changed, they took out the preservative and look at what happened.
This clear indication that there's very clear correlation between sugar and, you know, maybe attention span and brain activity. Okay.
Okay, guys, if you remember one thing about this seminar, again, I'm saying it, most people, be like a buffet. Take something with you today. It's going to be a lot of information. We invite you to come back. It's a 3-hour seminar. We throw everything. This is really 12-hour information we condense it in a few hours. This study is a landmark in an alternative community. They try to suppress this study, but they can't. This guy, Dr. Campbell, goes to China and start to study places that they have longevity and there is no cancer, no diabetes, no nothing. They find out the places down here that they don't have breast cancer, all that stuff, they hardly eat any animal fat. Guess what they find out here? Denmark, Switzerland, United States, New Zealand, they have a lot of animal fat. They wrote a whole book about it. I invite you to buy it. I think it's $20. $18 is something plus tax. The Whole Food just gave it to us. If you buy it, you buy it. If not, we give it back. You always can go to Whole Food and buy it. It is remarkable. Everywhere that you find out there is a high animal fat is consumed, all type of diseases are there. They've done it over and over again, and the study shows wherever there is animal fat consumption, there is cancer, arthritis, all the garbage we talked about. And this is that you can go ahead and Google it, or you go China study. It is a huge advance, because before that they said, you hallucinating. Meat is not that bad. After this meat, they go country to country to country, and they put them again. It's beyond any doubt that the evidence shows that wherever there is animal fat, there is all those garbage. Now, after you live here and you put meat in your body, don't kid yourself. You're not putting in your body nutrients. You're just satisfying your craving. Because now you know. You know what's the difference between stupidity and ignorance? Ignorance, some people don't know. It's not bad thing. You're ignorant. You don't know. Stupidity is like me when I was behaving like Earth is flat. I knew, but guess what? Did nothing. That's stupidity. You see what I'm saying? Casomorphin. This is a substance you find in the milk and dairy product. This is morphine molecule, this is casomorphin molecule. They are incredibly similar. That's why they actually call it casomorphin. You can Google this on encyclopedia. And you will see the reason most of us are addicted to milk and dairy is because of this molecule here. God put that in the molecule that when the fetus wants to eat, they get addicted fast to the mother's milk, so they don't put other stuff in their body that are not ready for it. But guess what? The cow milk has this too, and we get addicted to that. They put people on plant-based diet for 14 weeks. At the end of the week, they ask them, what did you miss the most? Nobody said juicy steak or chicken or fish. Everybody says, I miss cheese. Okay? Tryptophan. How many of you guys saying the best protein comes from meat? I hope nobody. Guess what? The worst protein comes from meat. Matter of fact, because the only way you eat meat is by cooking it, except turkey. There are some different high tryptophan in it. We have to cook it in order to eat it. By cooking it, we destroy most of the amino acids that are in protein, namely tryptophan. One of the reasons the depression in the society is so high, this amino acid tryptophan is missing from our diet. What is this? It's precursor for serotonin. Every time you get emotional, happy, static, body produces that. Every time you are satisfied from food, body produces that. Guess what happens when you don't produce that? You keep eating, you go into depression and all that stuff. Guess what you need to produce this? You need this. Guess what happened? You destroy it by cooking. Now some of you say, you know what, there's a tryptophan in turkey. I can eat turkey and there's a lot of tryptophan. Yes, the part that makes you sleepy is still there, but the actual amino acid is being destroyed. Okay? So the meat is mostly fat, and the protein that is in it, you kill it, is the worst source of protein. Yes, you get some, but not the best of protein. Mostly you get fat. Okay, this is another study that changed alternative community. This study also has been suppressed and like they try to disprove it, but guess what? Every time they do it, they find out that this study is valid. Guess what Dr. Kurchkov found in 1930s? How long time ago? 90, 70, 80 years ago. He found that people change after they eat. And he wanted to check their blood, what happened right after eating. He grabbed the blood sample. And he found out that after they eat, what happens is their blood is different. Well, can you hit the light? I want to show you this. You remember white blood cell in the body? They found out every time he grabs the blood of a person they just ate, the white blood cells start to increase. Why am I doing that? Because I want your visual people to remember that. When you cook food, he finds out there is a phenomenon called digestive leukocytosis. He finds out that doesn't happen to the people who eat raw.
Meat, fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and raw. They basically think that they didn't need to be cooking. What happens, our body starts to produce this white blood cell because he treats as cooked food as a foreign substance. And he dedicates all these white blood cells that they're supposed to fight your infection. Remember we said one of the ways you could lower your immunity is because you give away your white blood cell to fight stuff they don't need to fight. Right now in the city of LA, we are underprotected for a couple of fires that happens everywhere. They dedicate 200 firefighters here, 200. There was all over news last week because they said we are underprotected. We don't have enough firefighters. Why? Because the few firefighters we have, they go all of a sudden this warehouse or that warehouse. So if anything else happens, you're on your own. They want to lay off 80 police officers. Guess what? Same thing's gonna happen. Whenever you eat the cooked food, this is what's going to happen to you. Your white blood cell starting to work. They treat them as a foreign object. Okay? Remember that.
So I wanted to read you a letter written by the authors of this book. It's called Raw Food, Real World. To dairy, okay? Here we're backtracking a little bit here. And this is what they have to say. It says, "Dear dairy, what you have suspected so long is true. We have given you the brush off. It's not that we don't love you, but we know what you do to us. You line our intestines with mucus, making it difficult for us to digest, assimilate, and eliminate our foods. You clog our arteries and give us respiratory and heart problems. You make us fat and congested and misplace our trust with slogans such as milk. It does the body good. Who really needs your trademark mustache? Not the majority of Asians, African Americans, and Eastern European Jews who are lactose intolerant. In short, an estimated 60% of society can't tolerate you intestinally, lacking the enzyme to digest your milk sugar. The rest of us get sluggish and fatigued when we consume you. From this standpoint, it makes sense since humans were not designed to process dairy products in the first place, particularly pasteurized dairy. After all, centuries ago, we had our mothers to nourish us, and those who couldn't for some medical or biological reason relied on Dr. Nestle, he of the chocolate family who invented, believe it or not, infant formula. We also don't like what's in you. Low doses of antibiotics, steroids, and hormones that's supposed to keep you free from diseases and help your life take longer, but in fact may cause us illness and resistance to beneficial bacteria in the long run. And then there's what's not in you. All those vitamins and calcium you're supposed to have. Green leafy vegetables like broccoli, kale, and spinach have so much more. In convincing us that you're the key to avoiding osteoporosis, the nations with the highest intake of dairy, the United States, Sweden, and Finland, also have shown the highest rates of bone degenerating disease. Why? Because it's the acidic conditions you create in us that make our bodies pull the alkaline calcium out of our bones to neutralize the acid, leaving us with a net calcium deficit. So we are giving you and the myth that we need you up. It's not without qualms. We might love the taste of ice cream, yogurt, and cheese, just like children. You and your byproducts just don't love us back. And that's the bottom line.
Sorry, can you hit the light? We're going to show a video presentation on milk.
The truth behind the headlines from across the country and around the world. They claim milk does a body good, but find out why some brands may be doing more harm than good.
Up next, got milk? You may wish you didn't after tonight's Hard Target investigation exposes what's really in some of it.
Milk is loaded with powerful growth hormones that should never be in the human body.
Imagine a cow on crack cocaine. That's how author Robert Cohen describes something shot into millions of cows on American farms.
We genetically engineer a hormone that produces more milk when we didn't need more milk.
While Cohen admits calcium is good for you, he says leafy green vegetables have lots more calcium than milk.
If you look at nature's perfect food, human breast milk, there are 33 milligrams of calcium per 100-gram portion. Potato chips have 40, beans have 50, chickpeas 150, amaranth, a grain, has 267.
Cohen says dairy products are a poor source of calcium for another reason.
Every scientist in the world knows that protein inhibits calcium absorption, and milk is liquid meat. It's protein.
What is in milk that you say is poisonous, and why would the government be covering this up?
Well, what's in milk? You're drinking body fluids from other animals. 60% of the cows in America have leukemia virus. 80% have something called paratuberculosis. You don't want to eat something with that name, paratuberculosis. You've got irritable bowel syndrome in America. That's what it causes. 4 million American women have irritable bowel syndrome. You're talking about if your doctor said, I want you to eat today 53 slices of bacon because that cholesterol is good for you, You're eating from your dairy products the same cholesterol contained in 19,000 slices of bacon this year. By age 52, 1 million slices of bacon's worth of cholesterol. You don't want that in your body.
Of real concern, though, you talk about the bovine growth hormone.
Hormone is the big word here. There are 4,000 mammals. There are 500,000 different hormones. Only one hormone, this is the big secret the dairy industry doesn't want you to know. Only one hormone is identical in all of nature between two animals. It's human and cow. It's the most powerful growth hormone in our body. Drink a 12-ounce glass of milk. Double the only hormone that makes breast cancer grow once you get it.
I just assume it's milk. No, I don't. What's in the milk I'm drinking? What's in it?
If you ask the author of this controversial new book, you may not want to hear the answer.
The milk we're drinking is filled with fat. We know that. Cholesterol. We don't know it's filled with virus, bacteria, powerful growth hormones, proteins that cause a vast array of allergies in the human body. This is not nature's perfect food.
In a book called Milk, the Deadly Poison, Robert Cohen attacks what's long been considered the perfect food, claiming it can be a dangerous brew of chemical, biological, and bacterial agents that may also contain a growth hormone he believes can trigger the growth of cancer.
We know children come into puberty earlier in America. We don't know why. Every sip of milk, they're drinking, in addition to this most powerful growth hormone, 59 different bioactive hormones. What nations have the highest rates of breast cancer in the world? I ask people, they say, United States. Denmark, Norway, Holland, and Sweden. What nations have the highest rates of osteoporosis, crippling bone disease? Denmark, Norway, Holland, and Sweden. The dairy industry, every dairy farmer, and there are probably a few in the audience now, you know that for every 100 pounds of milk you produce, you got to pay 15 cents to the national fluid milk processors. Doesn't sound like a lot of money. What are they doing with that money? It's $500 million a year to paint milk mustaches on the lips of moms.
Robert, welcome to Your Health.
Nice to be here.
Mother says milk is good. What is this? Milk is no good.
Let me tell you about milk. The #1 protein in milk is casein, C-A-S-E-I-N. That's 80% of the protein in milk. That's the same glue they use to put a label on a bottle of beer. That's the same glue they use to hold your wooden furniture together.
So we're drinking glue.
You're drinking glue and you create so much mucus. This much casein, this much mucus.
Okay, we're getting technical. If you use a lot of chemical, what qualifies you to talk about these?
Well, the greatest controversy in the history of the Food and Drug Administration was the genetic engineering of milk. I'm the only person in America to be invited to meet with a group of top scientists at FDA. They used to do research, $50 word, psychoneuroendocrinology, the study of brain and behavior, how hormones affect behavior. And I uncovered secrets. I opened up a Pandora's box of secrets that the dairy industry wishes had never been opened.
If milk is so bad, then how come everybody else is so wrong and so brainwashed that it's good for you?
Well, they get Calcium Ripken to pose for his milk mustache. Spike Lee, you got 500,000 kids in the New York area that have asthma. They're drinking this glue every day. Spike Lee, 95% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. How can he wear this milk mustache? This is a message. Money is spent by the dairy industry. If you're a doctor, you call their toll-free number, 800-WHY-MILK. They'll send you $200 worth of free information. You call my toll-free number, 888-NOT-MILK. They'll get the truth. We're getting the message out as one voice to America. Milk does not do the body good.
So, got milk? No.
Not milk.
Not milk. We have a phone number where people can reach you, and what is that?
It's toll-free. It's 888-NOT-MILK.
Robert, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so you notice there are a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life saying the same thing. And that's the bad news. But the good news is that, you know, protein can come from very tasty places. I mean, you've got your choice of, you know, instead of having milk, you've got hemp milk, rice milk, almond milk, that you can start using and try, and they actually taste much better than regular milk.
Okay, as you can leave it. As you can see, this picture up here is the same vegetable, two different states. They use something here. It's called Kirlian photography. Anybody familiar with that? They use put a high voltage and high frequency, low amplitude to anything, usually living organism, and they can find out the energy that things emit. This is a cooked food. This is a raw food. When you cook it, You literally kill all the energy to it. That curly photography, yesterday I was doing research for it, or today I want to talk about it, is just the beginning what they're going to use that technology for. They literally can use the technology, they put your hand on a glass without you knowing it. And after you leave, they can find out if you said the truth or not. Because when you say the truth, you emit some type of energy, and when you lie, you say you do something else. Russian spy, they've been using that. This is again, you can see raw broccoli versus steamed. Look at how much energy lost. Organic mushroom is not commercially. Look at the amount of energy around the mushroom. The tomato, steamed again, slightly steamed. Look at how much loses versus raw. You want to talk about this?
Okay, so we're going to stress again on why is it important to find an alternative to meat and then just let go of the meat altogether. We as human beings were not designed to process meat. We don't have fangs like tigers and lions do, right? Our digestive system is considerably longer than that of a carnivore. As you can see, that of a carnivore has a very short intestine. That means they eat the meat, they process it fast, and they shit out as waste, right? With us, because we are not meant to have meat in our bodies, what happens is that goes through the stomach, then the intestines, and what happens is it starts to putrefy. Meat is meant to be passed very quickly to an intestinal tract. It can take up to 72 hours for a piece of meat to get to a human being's intestinal tract. That means that after 48 hours, it does start to putrefy.
And guess what? Some of it stays in your body for months and years.
Yeah. If you're not detoxifying, if you're not cleansing your intestinal tract, it can stay there for many years. But, okay, that's the end of that.
Okay, one thing I want to emphasize on this, that most of us, we can do this action with our jaw. Okay? We can go side to side. In nature, only herbivore can do that because they grind in all the plant-based stuff. All the carnivore, they can go up and down. They go like, ugh. All right? What was I going to say? Oh yeah, then you would say, why God allowed us to have meat if it's bad for us? Yes, we had meat. You know, we eat meat sometime, but as a backup system. Most of us, remember Israelites when they cried for why we can have not meat, and God gave them meat, and they had a plague and they died. Yes, God gave Noah permission to have animal flesh because when he destroyed the world, there was no vegetable to eat. So they gave him permission to have flesh. But before that, guess what? Everything was food, was green plant, garden. What is in the garden? Plant. And guess what? When there's an emergency, yes, go for it. When there's nothing else to eat. Not in the restaurant, guys. When you're in the middle of the desert and there's, a snake there, shoot it and eat it.
Do you want to talk about the correlation of cancer and meat?
Oh, yes.
Or,
there is a huge, but this China study is that.
okay, very good. Okay, so
you can hit the light.
So if we're not going to eat meat, and we're not going to eat dairy, and we're not going to eat this, and all that, what in the world are we going to eat? That is the better question, right?
Yeah.
So it is, there is a whole world of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and legumes that are available to us. They can be eaten raw when prepared properly. And today I want to show you some samples of that. How many of you are addicted to rice, like me? Okay, so here is a dish of wild rice. It is not cooked. It is soaked for 3 days. And then it's prepared with herbs and spices and raisins and cranberries and all kinds of yummy things. Very nutritious. Okay, who likes spaghetti and meatballs? Who's addicted to Italian like me? Okay. So here is a plate of spaghetti and meatballs with some Parmesan and some sauce. Except it's all raw, it's all vegan,
No.
there are no preservatives, there's nothing in there. Now, he is so proud of this Parmesan
This is later
cheese.
my invention.
This is Dr. Masoud's invention. And it is soaked almonds mixed in with a probiotic and dried and then made into a fine powder.
Okay,
So this is just almonds. And this is not only delicious, but it's actually very good for your digestive system.
I'm sure some raw chef they invented that, but I just came to this by my own. The way I did it, the reason I want to take this out, this is actually a cheese. Most of us think we can make cheese just by milk, and it's not true. You can make cheese out of everything. I choose to make cheese out of almond. So I made cheese, I learned that from YouTube and a couple of other people. I find out how to make cheese and yogurt. I love yogurt. There's a Persian yogurt drink that I absolutely love it. And the byproduct, the liquid coming out of that, it tastes exactly like that. The day I discovered that, I was like, wow! Then I made cheese, and I said to myself, if I can make cheese, I wonder if I dry this cheese and then grind it. Does it become like Parmesan? Sure enough, it did. So I grind it.
Yeah.
I added to her spaghetti meatball. So today we're gonna sell that, and so if you want to try this.
So the spaghetti is actually zucchini. The meatballs are made out of nuts and seeds and herbs and spices. And the sauce is just like any other sauce. You know, tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, olive oil, but it's not cooked, it's not heated, okay? So
One of the reasons we choose these foods because we want to break the perception. Oh, if I go raw, I have to have a rabbit food. Salad, that's all salad. Yes, that's true. But guess what? There's seeds you can have, there's variety thing. When you are growing up in this culture of cooked food and meat, you learn one dish at a time from the moment you learn who you are. And guess what? You can do exactly the same thing. Everything you can make cooked food, trust me, there is a way to make it raw food. Yeah. You can make raw mayonnaise, anything you put your hand. If there is, we went to this place called Raw Food Bazaar. There's a guy who makes a raw food hamburger with all the spices.
Patty and.
Trust me, it's very close. You don't feel all the fat coming to your mouth because that's what we are addicted to. But there is a possibilities out there that doesn't have to look like I sacrifice. The beginning of the seminar, I said we need to create something that pulls us rather escaping from something. And this is what we want to show you. There are so many gourmet, awesome food that you don't have to feel like you're sacrificing.
Right.
You need knowledge, you need discipline.
I made this for a client of mine, and he said to me, I feel like I'm cheating. This is tuna. If you taste it, this is the actual tuna made out of seeds, sunflower seeds, and some kelp and dulse, which comes, these are herbs from the sea, which gives it its fishy flavor. If I were just to give it to you and not tell you that it's not fish, it's not tuna, you've never been able to tell me, oh, it isn't, this isn't tuna. So even the consistency is very, very much like tuna fish.
Probably you know now because she told you.
Right.
But I just gave people, they ate it, and I would say fusha, and then like, what? Michael at the beginning.
Right, right. And the bread is actually made out of flax. The seeds are soaked for maybe a day or so, and then they release their oil. And we spread them out, we put them into a dehydrator, and then they're ready to be eaten as bread. So anyways, I want to encourage you to test them out. We're going to sell them during the break. We also have a guest with us today, Nelson, who has brought his delicious raw ice cream and some vegetable spread. And
raw cashew
spread,
yeah.
Cashew spread. So can you just tell us what's in the
Come on in,
ice
come
cream?
on. Sure. Give hands some too, come on.
Just tell us what's in the ice cream and tell us what's in the spread.
Okay, I make the ice cream. My wife makes the raw cashew spread. Ice cream, the base is raw cashews, and we soak them for at least 12 hours, but less than 24 in between there. The base is that, and the young coconut, which I spoon out the meat in the water myself. And it's raw, except the coconut sugar I use. So technically, it's 95% raw. And I also make one that's 100% raw with raw honey. Although that's not vegan like the other one. So I'll make that for another restaurant. And the coconut sugar one is in about 10 or 12 different stores. And the stores around here is Follow Your Heart, Juicy Ladies, and then stores in LA like Erewhon. Have you heard of that place? Erewhon and Nature Mart, Real Raw Live. And we just got into Mother's in Orange County, if anyone's from Orange County. In here? No? So we just got, what's that?
I think we're all locals.
People
I'm like in the middle, I'm in Hollywood, so. Do you have a question? Oh, that's one for the hand. Yeah, Follow Your Heart. Yeah, so they have the ice cream and the spread. All the stores have the spread, not all the stores have the ice cream. So the spread moves really fast. And the spread is sun-dried tomato, garlic and cilantro, and habanero for like it's spicy. And we also have a macadamia one, which I don't have on me today, because it's hard to get organic macadamias right now for some reason. And all the suppliers are out, so they're like coming from, I get ours from either Kenya, Guatemala, and some people get them from Hawaii, but they're not, I don't know what happened. So we don't have that right now. And so how it started, how it started, how we did.
No, what do you have? What do you have for them to taste today?
Today's I have the ice cream of raw cacao, ice cream, and the vanilla bean. So yeah, the other ingredients is I use raw vanilla bean, it's purified water, sea salt, like I said, the coconut sugar. That's about it. There's only about 7 or 8 ingredients in both of them, and the cacao from Bali.
By the way, cacao is the best source of magnesium, best antioxidant, and we're gonna go over it when we talk about superfood and after the break.
So we're going to take a 20-minute break. You're welcome to come and taste. I've got samples of the rice, but I don't have samples of the other stuff, but you're welcome to take a plate. And Nelson's going to be set up